Sort of. If you take a look at the lower right portion of the screen, you'll see it says version 0.8.0. That is because the version of the game that I'm playing today is the Ur-Quan Masters, the community build of the game, which is based on the source code, which was released like 2 decades ago or so at this point. So the community build of the game runs natively in modern computers and is freely available. So if you're at all intrigued by the somewhat unusual combination of game variables that this game represents, then I do recommend checking that out. So this game, before I get started, it's a combination of like a Western style RPG in terms of how many different characters there are to interact with dialogue trees that actually matter as far as what your relationship with each alien species is going to be like. And then there's adventure game stuff. I have to collect a bunch of things. And then there's asteroids style combat that'll happen as well. So most of the combat is backloaded towards the end of the run. Most of the collection and exploration is near the beginning. And thanks to speedrun tech, I will not have to do basically any of the resource collection simulation part of the game that's supposed to be kind of the bulk of what you do in a casual playthrough. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and get things started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. All right, so I start off the game as the ship you're seeing coming into the Sol solar system from the bottom here. This is a precursor. We're treating it as a flagship, but it was a utility ship for the precursors, and it's highly modular, which we will be decking it out at some point, but right now it's kind of sluggish. It turns really slowly. We'll need to improve all of that, but first we need to collect resources to do that. In order to start things out, I'm going to head over to Pluto as my first destination. Here in Pluto, there is a alien's ship. This is a Spathy. His name is Fwifo, and he's just one guy. He's the only Spathy remaining of the garrison that's supposed to be keeping tabs on the humans. You see, we're returning home after the humans had, well, in our absence, been defeated by the Ur-Quans. So the Ur-Quan are now our masters, and we need to overthrow them, and we need to get the humans on board with doing that. We have recruited the help of Fwifo because his entire race is just a bunch of cowards. So we were able to convince them that they would be safer joining with us rather than continuing to watch the human space station, which who knows what kind of terrifying things could happen there. So next up, we're visiting Mercury. Mercury has some radioactive materials I can pick up, which is important because the starbase that has the only humans left that are not trapped underneath a slave shield that the Ur-Quan have set up. Those humans are in a starbase that is now malfunctioning, so the radioactive materials will help them repair their reactor and all that stuff. This here is a drone led by the Ur-Quan. That's what the Ur-Quan look like. And that drone's going to go tattle on us. The repercussions of that are not something we're going to see over the course of this game. This game has a lot of optional content and a lot of places that you can explore that have useful resources that don't advance the game at all. It does take a while, and it took me like 7 or so pages worth of notes while I was playing this game casually, which I did for the first time like a few months ago. So this, whereas this is a old cult classic, for as far as I'm concerned, this is basically a new game. Anyway, what I just fought there was an Ilrath. He's also one of the alien races that's supposed to be watching over the humans and making sure they don't get up to any shenanigans. But
Be careful.
they got bored and most of them left, but that broken down one came back. We blew them up, and that helped convince the rest of the humans that, in fact, we are up to the task of taking on the Ur-Quan. So now those humans that are on the starbase that are supposed to be servicing the Ur-Quan, but the Ur-Quan are kind of AWOL right now, those guys are now going to help us out. And from the starbase, I can now modify my main ship. The green blip I added increases my turning rate. The red blips I'm adding increase my forward movement speed. Spend the rest of my resources on fuel. And now I have the ability to go a long distance rather quickly, which is important because I have a deadline to meet. There is a quasi-space portal that opens up on the 17th of each month. And, well, there we go. Mistyped that a little bit, wound up being okay. So I'm now hyperspacing over to Alpha Pavonis. I'm going to try to get to the quasi-space portal, which we're going to kind of overshoot that considerably. And we're going to come back to it for April. If you take a look at the right portion of the screen, there's a lot of useful information. There's the current date in the middle. A little above that, you can see how much crew I have. This game treats crew as if it were HP. Anytime you take damage, you lose crew. Once you run out of crew, you die. So I guess that means they're just stapling human bodies onto the outside portion of the hull and using it as a blade of armor. Not really how I would have designed the ship, but hey, whatever works. Above that, you can see a brief description of the ship. If you know what all the icons mean, that you can actually identify what's in your ship. There's a lot of slots that we're never going to fill here. Above that, you can see my fuel. You can see it's ticking down quite quickly while I'm in hyperspace here. The fuel does not tick down at all while I'm in a solar system, except if I land on a planet in order to explore its surface. There is some fuel expended while you do that. It's not a lot, though. A little above that, and to the left, you can see my current hyperspace coordinates. Those coordinates will be useful for me to line myself up on a particular spot whenever I'm trying to get to a particular star system or quasi-space portal or whatever. I have some brief notes on the side that indicate the exact coordinates of most of the destinations I need to get to, except for the ones that are kind of obvious. You may notice that I haven't touched the game for a while. This is the one trek across the galaxy that I have to do. I am racing across the galaxy to pick up a device so I can use that reactor in order to power a quasi-space portal spawner that I'll get once I go through quasi-space. You can see I'm finally at least crossing by some stars. You can see them on the main display, and also on the lower right you can see a mini map of the immediate region within hyperspace. So we're going to Alpha Pavonis, where a Ur-Quan dreadnought has wrecked. So usually the Ur-Quan dreadnoughts will self-destruct whenever they are damaged, specifically in order to avoid exactly what we're doing here. So we're coming up on our destination on the left, and we will head over to a bluish planet here. Thankfully, the planets don't like move or anything. There's a mod available among the various community edits to the game where you can make the planet to actually orbit around the star. But since it's not, it makes it a little easier to find where I'm going. I can specify approximately where on the planet I land. However, the exact spot I drop down is randomized somewhat, so I do have to react to where I actually wound up. And there is some danger on most of these planets. Sometimes it's fire, sometimes it's lightning. There's various obstacles, but at this point I'm going to try to make it to the quasi-space portal. That is a slight overshoot. I'm going to have to adjust. 43.8 horizontally is the exact location of the portal. The portal opens on the 17th of each month and closes on the 20th of each month sharp. So if I miss the portal, I do have a backup save, so I don't have to redo this entire 8-minute intro segment just for that. So hopefully it won't be a problem. I think it's going to be sort of close, but we'll be fine. We'll probably see the portal close behind us as we leave. No, not quite. You see it disappeared from the mini-map at least, but sometimes it actually disappears while I'm entering. Anyway, now we're in quasi-space. Quasi-space is one level further up from hyperspace, and this is the home of the Arilu. There are lots of alien species in this game. We're not even going to see all of them. We're going to see, I'm going to say, around 2/3 of the various races as we explore and get all the various things we need in order to complete the game. But first, we get the thing that we need in order to speed things up, which is the quasi-space portal. There we go. I had to make sure not to choose the option of conversation there that would have me declare my intention to fight the Arilu, because if I did that, the Arilu would obviously not give us a bunch of free combat ships whenever we return back to Earth, which at this point, anytime I go back to Earth, I'll be able to get that. Also, I've picked up the quasi-space portal spawner. This portal spawner will allow me to head over to quasi-space. I always wind up in the same starting position, and each of these portals I'm mostly ignoring here takes us to someplace kind of arbitrary in the galactic map. So there's no real rhyme or reason to which portal positioning-wise takes you where in the galaxy. You just have to know. And that is a very inconvenient spawn for that thing. The black dots on the minimap indicate enemy ships, or potentially enemy ships. They could be allies, but there's a risk that any one of these things could be a Slylandro probe, which is a constant irritation that the game sends your way in the early game. The early game ships have a bit of a hard time fighting back, but there are a bunch of probes that are supposed to be making peaceful contact with whoever they stumble across, but they're misconfigured, so they wind up trying to break down anything they meet into its base components, so that's not so great for, you know, things that want to stay alive. So this here is the Pakunk. I have gone through Ilrath space, that was the spider people we fought right at the beginning, over here to the Pakunk, who the Ilrath are currently fighting against. And the Pakunk are friendly. They're also kind of hippies. They also kind of look like toucans or something. You can even insult them by making some Fruit Loops comments, as it were. Anyway, whenever we offer to help them, they say, no, we offer to help you. And then they immediately give us 4 combat ships, which we are going to scrap in order to make things we actually care about. Not that these combat ships are bad. In fact, the usual advice you'll see in strategy guides and whatnot is to use these ships specifically against the final boss of the game, because these things are really fast. The problem is their damage output is pretty slow. So for speedrun purposes, they don't really work nearly as well as some of the other things we're going to bring to the table. So at this point, I'm going to return back to base, talk with the commander again. That causes the Arilu skiffs that I mentioned I was going to pick up at some point to appear. I'm also now going to scrap most of these ships for resources so I can do other things. I'm going to pick up 3 cruisers, though. Cruisers have long-range missiles. They're very slow moving in combat, but their missiles are fairly strong, and the fact that they have such long range helps in a number of matchups, and pretty much guarantees that no matter what they're fighting against, they'll do a little bit of damage back, even if they're not ideal for the fight. At this point, I'm going to whoop, that was not what I meant to do. Accidentally uninstalled a fuel tank. That wouldn't have been good. So I'm going to give myself one spare lander just for marathon safety here. If you lose all of the crew within a lander while you're on the surface because you get sniped by a fireball train or whatever, that would be an immediate game loss if I didn't have a replacement lander, but I do, so should be okay. Every time I exit a solar system, I'm aiming upward because that makes the spinning animation as I leave take a little bit less time. And now that I'm suited up with most of the stuff I need, I can turn a lot faster, I'm refueled, I have an extra lander, I have some combat ships. I'm now ready to explore the galaxy. The first place I'm going to is a rather dangerous area run by the Mycon. The Mycon are these fungus-type people that their idea of a habitable world is very, very, very different from pretty much every other race. And as a result, when they go to terraform a planet, I'm probably going to have to fight that Mycon as I exit here. When they go to terraform a planet, and they don't tell anyone they're about to do that, they send this thing they call a deep child, and it's like this giant egg thing. It turns the planet into a volcanic wasteland, such as Syra here, which is where I'm at right now. This was the former homeworld of the Cyrene, who were... Oh, wow. I lost half my crew there. 12 crew can fit in a lander. I took 6 damage there, which is not great, but not necessarily terrible either. More troubling is actually going to be... Oh, whoops. Forgot about that planet. More troubling is going to be this encounter, and I'm probably going to have to deal with another encounter as I exit here, too. Okay, so I'm going to drop a safety save here, in case this doesn't go well. I need to flee this battle. Okay, long distance away from the enemy. He's got these homing attacks that do more damage if they just came out than otherwise. Unfortunately, I've got another thing I've got to flee here. Generally speaking, I can survive 1 extra combat like this. 2 extra is problematic. And of course, because there were 2 on top of each other, I wound up getting... Oh no! Okay, well, yeah, that's problematic. I have to flee from this as well, which I may not have enough HP to do. This is also burning some extra fuel each time I use the emergency escape thing like this. Okay, new plan. So, because I'm getting camped by multiple things on top of a star, I actually cannot get out. So I'm going to load the safety save, and I'm going to fix this problem in a very slow, but it can be done fashion. I'm actually going to fight these guys. This is not something I'm ever supposed to do at this point. I will eventually have to fight some Mycon, and I already have the correct type of ship that I want to use for this fight, but you're not supposed to see that at this time. So, anyway, I've got a Arilu skiff here, which it's a very maneuverable ship. It also doesn't have any inertia, which means I can stop on a dime. I can turn really, really easily. Unfortunately, just got a gravity whip off of the planet there, so why there's always a planet in the middle of deep space, I don't know, but that's just how this game works. Okay, I did pad in quite a bit of extra time into my estimate, so I probably won't wind up going over estimate just because of this, but this is still a pretty major time loss here. When I can, I'm going to steer the enemy's attacks directly back into itself. Unfortunately, the tail end of the shots doesn't do so much damage. I had to turn off there because I had a bad angle where I was about to get hit by the first part. The skiff I'm piloting has not a heck of a lot of HP, so if I get hit by the start of one of these shots, I will actually just die. So here I'm going to get into another guy, and again, because it's on top of a star, I can't escape it normally. I have to actually kill it, which I should be able to do with this skiff again. So only 3 of them to kill this time. Still way more than I want to have to fight here. I should not be having to fight any of these things here at this time, but just got really unlucky with when and where all these things spawned. Another nice aspect of the skiff is that my primary weapon, the short-range laser thing, automatically fires towards the enemy no matter which way I'm facing. Ooh, ugh, took 1 damage there, that's okay. The tail end of the enemy shots doesn't really do all that much damage. Oh, crap. Well, there goes 1 skiff. She's probably just going to try to heal here. The special ability of the Mycon is to try to heal themselves. So 1 skiff in principle should be enough to take out the other Mycon I need to fight later, but this is an awful time loss. Again, I should not be doing any of this combat at all, but just got really unlucky, and Gravity Sling means I have to wrap around again. Oh no! I cannot replace the skiffs. There's no way to replace a skiff. Okay. I actually cannot really win the Mycon fight I need to do later easily now. I could do on... No, I can't do that. I still need the skiff to get the... Okay, what on earth do I do here? Yeah, okay, so at this point, I actually just have to abort. So what on earth do I do? Okay, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going to see if I can escape now. Okay, well, at least I'm out of there, but now I have no idea how I fight the Mycon later. I may wind up needing to just load a... I have some backup saves available that are on the intended route just in case something really awful happened, which I would say this qualifies as something really awful, but I'm trying to think if there's an alternate way I can fight the Mycon. The thing is, the Mycon fight is what I would need to get the other good ship. Can I leave the Mycon fight until after... Having to reroute on the fly. Okay, I'll explain what I'm doing right now. I'm talking with the Mycon and finding out that, in fact, the egg casing that I picked up a little bit ago is from the so-called Deep Child that does terraforming. Thereby, we can now convince the Cyrene that they're... You know what, I'm going to put this on a separate... there we go. Just in case I wind up deciding that the actual solution is to reload all the way back from there. So I need to wait for all the Mycon that were in the system to get into this solar system, into this planetary system, before I can leave, or else they'll spawn camp me as I leave. You saw how long fighting takes, and I don't really have a good solution for that right now. Okay. Well, that was awful. We'll see what we can do to figure this out now, but... So I'm going to quasi-portal back to Syra, which is, let's see, this way is the best way. Not Syra, the Cyrene. They've been moved to Betelgeuse after they were conquered by the Ur-Quan. The Ur-Quan picked out a new planet for them, which the Cyrene thought that was awesome, so because of that, they are a tough sell for getting into the war against the Ur-Quan again. So... Still trying to think about what my actual solution to the Mycon fight's going to be. Fortunately, I have a little bit of time to think about it here because I'm just heading to Betelgeuse. That's a Silandra probe behind me, but it's not fast enough to catch up to me, so it doesn't matter. I suppose I can fight them after the Druge. So this is the Cyrene base. They're in a similar situation to the humans right now, where they have a star base, but everyone else is encased in a slave shield. So we get them on board with trying to take revenge against the Mycon. So in order to actually let them do that, though, we need to give them some military ships again. So we'll have to take care of that later. But first, I'm going to head over to a region of space that's been pretty busy on the in terms of what races have been there. So, once upon a time, the Taelo were there. There are some rock-like people who are the only people who are able to resist the mental domination of the Dinyari. We're going to meet a Dinyari later, so we need a device that the Taelo invented to allow other species to also resist that mental domination. So, that happens to be on a moon around that red gas giant over here, and I need to meet with an Urs first, because they're the guys who live here now. Immediately in the past, however, they had the Androsynth living here. But the Urs, who talk very strangely and apparently are collectively one interdimensional being. But anyway, they're probably dangerous, but for the purposes of this game, there's no negative repercussions to allying with them, so that's what I do. So we are now allies with the Urs. And that also means that we can produce Urs ships, which might wind up being my solution, possibly, to fighting against the Mycon. I've never actually done that fight, but in principle it should be okay. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a mess without the skiffs. Okay, so back to quasi-space. This time I'm going to head over to the place where the Burvix people used to be. However, they were, let's see, west of the southwest, okay. However, the Burvix were destroyed by the Kor-Ah. The Ur-Quan, it turns out, are divided between the green guys, the Kazerza, and the dark guys, the Kor-Ah. And the Kor-Ah, their solution to the problem of keeping the Ur-Quan safe is to literally just destroy everything that is not Ur-Quan. The Kazerza want to enslave everyone that is not also Ur-Quan. So the Kor-Ah are even worse news than the Ur-Quan that we had previously met, is the long and short of it. But the Kor-Ah destroyed the people here because the Druge, who are kind of like the Ferengi, if you're familiar with Star Trek. Oh, whoops. I hit the leave planet button a little bit before I hit the thing rather than a little bit afterward. There we go. So I've picked up a device that the Druge put here in order to get the Kor-Ah to destroy the Burvix instead of themselves. So we'll go ahead and get out of here. And next up, we're going to do some textbook blasphemy. So, let's see, where do I go here? Middle, northwest, okay. So my destination here is Ilrath's homeworld, which is at AlphaTauri, which I'll go ahead and do that way. One of the features that was added to the community build of the game is the ability to search by name for a particular star on the star map. You hit / and then type the name, and then that works. This is enemy territory. I definitely don't want to encounter anything here. There's something following behind me. given how fast it was moving, I'm going to say... No, actually it disappeared behind me, so I'm going to say that was probably a Spathy, because I was in Spathy space heading over to the Ilrath. Once you meet an alien race, their sphere of influence is shown on the star map. I haven't met nearly all the races, so the star maps indicators are not very thorough right now. Anyway, with the hyperwave caster, which is a communications device, I impersonate one of the gods of the Ilrath culture, which apparently the Umga, yet another alien race that we'll meet later, have also been doing. So they're already primed to believe us. We tell them to go elsewhere. Where am I going next? Speaking of... Okay, Druge. So the Ilrath are now heading over to attack the Thradash. Previously, they were attacking the Pakunk. This is one solution to getting the Aqua Helix that I do eventually need to get. However, waiting around for the Ilrath and the Thradash to mutually annihilate each other takes too long, so we're going to instead trick the Thradash. The more important thing about telling the Ilrath to attack the Thradash is that doing so causes the Ilrath to no longer have an infinitely large blockade blocking the place where the Chimmer are coming into existence, which is a combination of the Chenjesu and the Murmurherm. The Murmurherm are robot people, and the Chenjesu are crystal people. And we will need to combine them faster than the rate at which they're currently being combined by using a sun device that we need to get from the Mycon, which means I need to destroy a group of 5 Mycon, which I am still figuring out how on earth I'm going to do now that I've lost both my skiffs. So it may be that I just have to reload the game. Because I have backup saves before each of the fights. I may just do that. Or I may try using the ores. So we'll figure that out when I get there. But for now, I just did business with the Druge. I sold them back their Hyperwave Caster for a refuel. And let's see, where am I going next? Next up is, in my notes, second portal to the left is Ur-Quan space. Okay, picking up the Cyrene ships. The Cyrene ships were archived in a vault by the Ur-Quan. The Ur-Quan don't like, or at least the Khazerda Ur-Quan don't like destroying things. So, whoops. They're preserving these combat ships, so we should be able to pick some up. If there are any ships in this area, they will be Ur-Quan or Kor-Ah ships, because there's currently a civil war going on between the Ur-Quan and the Kor-Ah about what the best way to handle other species is. Neither solution is great for us, though. So I'm going to go ahead and slip in here. Turned out there were no enemies this time, which was great. So I'll go ahead and pick up that from the vault and head out. Okay. Next up, I'm going to head over to Betelgeuse again in order to drop off these combat ships. My notes then indicate I'm supposed to fight the Mycon. I'm not in a proper condition to do that. So I may wind up just loading the save so that the show can go on. I would most certainly have reset if this were a more, like PB attempt sort of a run. All the enemies around here are brutal. They're either Kor-Ah, who are devastatingly powerful with a complicated board state that they cause as they release all these spinning blades that slowly track you and they persist forever. Or the Khazerza that have just ridiculous firepower and also fighters. I don't really have a great answer to either. So I would... Oh, that's scary. Good. That is a Slylandro probe. As if this run wasn't going badly enough already. Ah, run away! Even more! Fortunately, this is the last time I have to be in the solar... Oh, just the transition was too slow. Well, I'm going to have to flee. The Slylandro are trying to be peaceful, but they are misprogrammed, so they try to destroy everything. And they are ridiculously fast, as you can see. Once again, the transition between different zoom levels causes me to get caught up on. Okay, well, we're escaping again. As if this run wasn't going badly enough already. Each time I escape costs me some fuel. If I run out of fuel, that's bad. Okay. So... Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go to my normal destination, and then I will attempt to defeat the Mycon there with just the cruisers I've got. This is probably not going to work, and if it does not, I am going to load my backup save, my practice save that's just before this fight, and otherwise is basically exactly what I should, quote-unquote, have at this point. So I'm going back to the Mycon homeworld. I'm not actually going to have to fight this time. Usually anytime you meet with the Mycon, there is combat immediately. However, in this case, I'm going to tell the Mycon about a planet that they can terraform. This is a trap that the Cyrene are setting for them. So we are the messengers for that attack. So here we go. Tell them to go to Organon. And the fact that they are now all packing up their bags to terraform Organon means that the blockade protecting their sun device is now not infinite in size. So I can now take that on. And we'll see if I can actually take that on with my already crippled due to the previous combat fleet here. Answer is probably no, but we'll see. If I can, then I'll try to just plow on forward. I should be able to defeat the Druge with 2 cruisers, so if I can somehow defeat the Mycon without losing any cruisers, I'm actually in fine shape. I'm just going to attack without making a safety save here. If I lose, I'm going to use my backup save rather than a safety save. So, the big problem with trying to fight Mycon with cruisers is that essentially the Mycon are using the same game plan as the cruiser, but they're better at it. They are also long-range ships, but they're slightly faster than I am. They also have tracking shots, but they do more damage than mine do. Plus, they also have the ability to heal. As long as they run away and try to heal, that will actually keep the fight safe, although not fast. Okay, so first fight was fine. The longer the enemy shots are out, the less damage they do. So I do want to make sure that we stay at long range because of that. Also, while we're at long range, the Mycon, if they have taken damage, will just try to heal. And it looks like so far this is going okay. Every once in a while, because the Mycon are faster than me, if they are in this runaway and heal mode, I will have to reverse my direction in order to catch up with them again. Okay, he just healed, so he doesn't have energy for a shot. His shot takes half of his energy. You can see his energy as the red bar on the right. Healing costs all of his energy. My shots do 4 damage. That's the green bar, labeled as crew. So again, I'm going to have to go around here. I could gravity whip, but I don't really want to do that because then I wouldn't be able to avoid getting close to the enemy. And if I'm close to the enemy, he will stop trying to heal and will start trying to fight back. And his firepower is wildly superior to my own, so I really don't want to actually fight. I'll try to do a gravity whip to get away here. Hey, I think he actually wound up shooting himself because of the gravity situation. That was neat. Overall, this fight is actually going really well. I may actually wind up not having to invalidate the run. So that's sweet. Well, there goes one cruiser. Fine. Just had to jinx myself, didn't I? Okay, now he's damaged, so he should start trying to heal. And once you get him starting to heal, usually you can, as long as you don't let up on the damage output, you can keep him in that mode for the whole time. This is probably going to mean I have to defeat the Druge in a single go, which is optimistic. I'm gonna put it that way. Oh crap. Ow. You can see how much damage that is, even if it's been out for a little bit. I think there's one more I have to take out here. Thankfully, my shots are really long range. And they do full damage no matter how long they've been out. Although their damage can be reduced if the enemy plinks it with a weak attack, with not one strong enough to detonate the missile, but strong enough to weaken it. That kind of applies to all weapons. Any weapon collisions with each other will end that way. Okay, so we're actually still in there, weirdly enough. And one damaged cruiser is probably not going to do it for the Druge. However, I could do an extra trip back home, and that'll solve that problem. That's going to then make the Umga fight that much harder, but, I mean, we're still in there. I've picked up now the Sun device, which is the device I need in order to accelerate the merging of the Chenjesu and the Murmurherm, which at this point is probably going to take decades, and that's too slow for us. The Core A are going to win the fight over the future of the galaxy and just start annihilating everyone before that happens. So we don't want to sit around for that. We need to speed them up. That's what the Sun device is good for. Which it occurs to me, now that I have the Sun device, I could just make that trip now. Yeah, let's do it that way. Okay. I'm going to switch to a strategy I've never done before because I'm in a bit of a mess, so I've got to do something, and this'll work. So I'm going to head to Procyon. This is supposed to be the last place I go before I finish out the normal part of the run and get into the last couple of fights. So this is going to free the Chenjesu and Murmurherm, turn them into the Chimmer, and that will unlock my ability to manufacture the Avatar, which is a very powerful ship, which the current world record actually uses that for most of the fights. So we're just going to do that to try to patch this out, and we're going to see how that works. Oh dear. So we need to get a bomb and a Dinyari in order to gain access to the Sumatra, which is the Ur-Quan flagship, and then blow it up. So, to that end... Okay. Gonna head over to Earth again, because I need to restock. And normally, I use not the Avatar, but instead the Or's Nemesis, which releases these cool marine guys. Whenever I fight the Umga, which I'll have to do before too long here. Unfortunately, I do not think that the Nemesis would do very well against the Druge. So, because I have to head back home early in order to resupply because I'm down to just one cruiser, I'm going to see if I can make this work. The trouble is, I don't know exactly how many resources I've got right now. I am a little bit short of being able to make one avatar. So, to that end, I need to find some module I can disassemble. I'm not going to have enough fuel anyway, so I'll drop that. Drop a spare lander. I've gotten through all the dangerous planets anyway. I I will need to replace some of the fuel I spent on the trip to Procyon. And on-the-fly speedrun routing is obviously the correct way to do things, right? Okay, Avatar. So this ship is quite strong. Let's see, can I ditch 2 more items? Yes. It's not pleasant, but I can ditch 2 of these and give myself a little bit more safety here by picking up 1 more cruiser. Unfortunately, no Urs Nemesis this time, but this will be faster for the Umga fight anyway. It'll be okay. Okay, well, you can see how much slower I turn now. I hope I gave myself enough fuel. If not, then we're going to see the Melnorm, which is not what's supposed to happen. But I think 20 fuel is enough to compensate for what I did. Okay. Quasi-portal. Okay, now, where am I in my notes now that I've mixed everything up? So I need to go to the Thredash next. Yeah, I think that's right. And wow, I turn slowly now. I sold 2 of my rotational thrusters. I still have like 6, but even just losing a little bit of that slows me down a lot. So this is the south of the southwest pair is the Thredash. So I need to meet with a Thredash. These guys are total failures at everything. They're also really belligerent, and they are eager to try to impress the Kazerza Ur-Quan that they have enslaved themselves to willingly. However, the Kazerza Ur-Quan want nothing to do with them. So they're going to try to impress the Kazerza by fighting against the Core Ah. Or at least that's what we're going to try to get them to do. That, I think, is a Thredash. I need to talk with one of them before I get to where the Aqua Helix is, because that's one of the random pieces of crap that I need to pick up, because this does have some adventure game qualities to it. So, once I pick up the Aqua Helix, I will, at that point, have... Oh, wow, that's a lot of Thredash. Getting out of here is going to be hard. Yeah, here's hoping this works. I may wind up having to fight some Thredash, but that should be okay with the Avatar. That should actually be, like, trivial with the Avatar, come to think of it. So these guys are going to be really angry when, because we've told them, because we convinced them to go fight the Core Ah, they're no longer garrisoning this planet very well. So we can take the Aqua Helix. And now they're angry at us, and they're going to try to kill me, and hopefully I can get out before they catch up. Good. They're not very strong. The Avatar could murder them, honestly. Okay. Next up, I need to go to the Utwig, which is the center of the northeast cluster here. I'm a little worried about my fuel amount here. I need to make it back to... Oh, right! I'm going to need to go all the way back to Seoul in order to refuel, because that's normally a part of my route. Yeah, okay, the trip to Procyon was probably a bad idea. I should have just picked up some extra cruisers, and then afterward come back for the Nemesis afterward. That would have been fine. Anyway, so we need to go to the Utwig. The Utwig have a bomb that we need. However, the Utwig are currently planning to use the bomb to blow themselves up because they're just so depressed because they destroyed a device called the Ur-Quan. As it turns out, we have collected in our journeys the exact combination of crap that is necessary to fix the Ur-Quan. We just met with the Supox there, which is the plant guys. And the Supox were able to hand us the Ur-Quan because once the Utwig broke it, they handed it off to their allies. Okay, I need to wait now for an Utwig to spawn. Unfortunately, this can take some time. I got a pretty quick spawn for the Supox. But I also need a spawn here from the Utwig. Anytime now. Okay. I can tell this is not a Slylandro probe, but instead an Utwig because it moves so slow. The Utwig ships are, in fact, really slow. Talk with them. They're also really strong. So anyway, we got the Ur-Quan. So now we're friends with the Utwig because we've returned the fixed Ur-Quan to them. So now I'm going to go to this planet here, which is where the bomb that I was talking about is located. We need this bomb to be enhanced by the Chimmer, who we've already freed. And that will... Okay, I'm going to save because this is not the situation I'm normally in here. Okay. Now that they no longer want to blow themselves up, the bomb is no longer being protected by them, which means that it's now up for grabs. We want it, and also the Druge want it. The Druge are the Ferengi-like people I did business with before. They have these sniper ships that recoil backward every time they shoot. They also, in order to recharge their weapon energy at a reasonable pace, they have to throw their own people into the furnaces, which is brutal. Anyway, we're both long-range ships, but my ship is more accurate at long range. His can only fire in 16 different directions because you can only face in one of 16 different directions in this game. So as long as I'm not on one of those exact angles, my homing weaponry will be able to hit them, whereas their shots will not hit me in general. If I mess up slightly, then that may not happen, but these cruisers are relatively expendable. So unfortunately, after this, in order to do the rest of the trips I need to make, I am going to need to return to Earth in order to refuel. It's going to suck. There we go. Okay, so I think that was the last Druge I needed to take out. Yep. Okay, and I do pick up some RUs. Those are resource units. That's what I use to buy upgrades at home. So I will be able to use that in order to acquire additional fuel. I should have thought ahead and sold one more thing in order to refuel a bit whenever I was at Earth before. But because I did not, I now have to go back. And that was the last time I needed to actually land on a planet. So because of that, I can now get rid of my crew module because I no longer need to service my landers. So I can actually scrap the landers, scrap the crew module. That frees up a fair amount of cash. I can also scrap one of my remaining fuel tanks. That'll give me some resources as well. Okay, so in light of my current situation, I'm going to take a look at how much resource I actually get once I scrap all this stuff that I don't need. And then I may wind up building an ores anyway. Let's see, get rid of stuff I don't need. Fuel up. That's enough to get me everywhere I need to go. And yeah, I can get one Ores Nemesis, so I can at least show off what the ship I normally use in this situation does. And I still have enough now for one of the turning jets to be returned. Okay. And we're off to the last 3 fights of the game. First is going to be against the Umga. The Umga are very annoying. They are practical jokesters who are also very good at genetic engineering, which turns out to be their downfall because if you remember way back at the beginning of the game, there was a Ur-Quan Dreadnought wreck. Wait, where do I go here? Okay. There was a Ur-Quan Dreadnought wreck. From that wreck, there was not only the power supply that we took in order to power our quasi-space portal generator. There was also a living talking pet, as they call it. Let's see, Beta Orionis. There we go. So the talking pet used to be the Dinyari, who are the mental dominating race that at one point took over the entire sentient milieu, including the Ur-Quan. But whenever the Ur-Quan overthrew the evil Dinyari, they genetically modified the remainder into these non-sentient translating devices, essentially. One of them was on that Dreadnought wreck and was brought back to full genetic operation by the Umga, and then the Umga were promptly enslaved by that one Dinyari. That's how dangerous they are in general. So I'm going to do another safety save here, just in case stuff goes wrong. So here's the Dinyari. The Umga look like these blob things. We may or may not see them on our way out. So I'm going to use... Oh, that was scary. So I'm going to use this ship, the Or's Nemesis. Those weird fish people that talk strangely, if you've played the game at all. This is their ship. It has some interesting features, including the ability to release these Marines. The Marines will do what they can to seek out the enemy and get in. And once they're inside, they do damage over time, unless they get killed, which is just random each tick, whether they do nothing, kill an enemy, or die themselves. They can also be sniped on their way in, and this will happen over time to some degree. So I expect my Nemesis to not be able to survive the whole fight. Which is why I normally enter this fight with 3 Nemesis available. Also because these stupid Umga drones are really unpredictable. Every time they have their back towards you, they might use their special ability in order to scoot backward at ridiculously fast speed. And once they're in close range, their short-range weapon is ridiculously powerful. So, as it turns out, because I, somewhat foolishly perhaps, took the time out to pick up this Chimmer avatar, this is really good for this fight. My current usual strats do not call for using this, because it does involve an extra trip to Procyon, but you can see how quickly it handles these battles here. I have a tractor beam that can bring the enemy close to me, and I have orbiting satellites, which will fire at anything in range. Usually, their firing is for the purpose of shooting down enemy shots as they approach, so you take less damage. I've never actually done this fight with the Avatar, by the way. Anyway, you also have a tractor beam, so you can bring them into close range. So yeah, between that and the really powerful laser, it's a pretty quick way to handle that fight if you're willing to take the time out to do that, which I'm not normally willing to do, but this run did not go to plan, so we wound up doing something a little different. So at this point, I can return back to Procyon. This is where the Chimmer are. We now have everything we need in order to fight the Ur-Quan flagship, which is called the Sumatra. So now when we go to Procyon, the Chimmer will agree to set up our ship with the Utwig bomb in an enhanced fashion. And that enhanced Utwig bomb will be strong enough to take out the Sumatra. Here we are. This should initiate the endgame sequence. I've never actually visited the Chimmer before doing the endgame sequence, so I'm not sure how this conversation here actually goes. I am ready. Okay. Straightforward. We're just on to the endgame sequence. Should be able to handle it to plan at this point, but I do need to prepare my ship. My ship, most of its space has now been taken up by the bomb, so I now need to refit it. Get myself a crew pod just in case, and enough fuel to reach the enemy. Oh, wait. Oh, hey, interesting. They max out your jets, even if they weren't maxed out beforehand. Interesting. So I will go ahead and crew a whole bunch of stuff. My flagship is not a powerful combat unit. If you're playing the game casually, you may meet the Melnorm, who will sell you technology to upgrade your flagship's weaponry. We didn't do that, so instead we're going to have to use these avatars to fight the final boss. However, prior to the final boss, we also are going to need to fight a few Ur-Quan who are not going to be sent away by the mental domination of the Dinyari that we befriended a little bit ago. The Dinyari wants revenge against the Ur-Quan every bit as much as we want to free ourselves from them, so they're on board with helping us. For safety, I'm going to fill out all of my ship slots here. I should not need that many. But the final fight can sometimes go pretty wrong. Once it starts going wrong, it takes a while for it to start going right again. I'm also making 2 Utwig ships because they happen to be really good at fighting against the Ur-Quan ships. Avatars can do it too, but they tend to get blown up as well because the defense satellites don't really work that well against Ur-Quan weaponry. It's pretty good against the final boss's weaponry, but not so much that. So, with that, I'm ready to go. And let's head over to the final area. Let's not run into Venus on our way out. Okay. Heading now to Craterus, which is the northwest part of the northeast cluster of portals here in quasi-space. This is our last trip to quasi-space, and then we'll make our last trip through hyperspace in order to make it to Delta Craterus, which is where the Sumatra is located. Once we defeat the Sumatra, the Ur-Quan will fall back in disarray. There's a lot of alien races in the game that we didn't even meet, by the way. There's a lot of content, and if you're playing... Whoops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. If you're playing casually, there's a lot of notes that you probably should take because there are plenty of ways to find out where the things you care about are located, but you have to pay attention because they won't repeat themselves. Anyway, attack! So this should be fine. Go ahead and... This is an Ur-Quan ship. This is a Kazerza Ur-Quan ship. These are the ships that we had encountered in the previous war, if you want to get into the lore of the matter. All of the ships involved in this fight are pretty slow, so if we fight near the planet, it's going to get kind of awkward. So the thing that makes the Utwigs so good at these fights is that they have a shield that absorbs enemy fire. If my shield is active when the enemy shot comes in, the shield regenerates itself. The only way to run out of shield energy, effectively, is if you shield while enemy shots are not coming in at you. Another nice feature of the Utwig ships is that they fire on such a wide... They have such a wide weapon profile that they have a tendency to be able to hit enemies that can't hit back because of the only 16 different directions business. Actually, a little awkward here. Okay, there we go. I don't want to fight around the planet. I can't really move very well near the planet. And it complicates the combat math. And now I'm out of shields. Yeah, I don't want to fight near the planet. That's why I got two Ur-Twigs, though, so it's okay. Okay. I don't remember if that was the 4th or 6th enemy. They alternate between the green and the dark guys. Thankfully, you can watch the enemy's battery, so you can tell when the enemy is about to shoot and when they're not. I'm actually running a little low here. If I have to turn to Avatar to finish off this guy, it's okay. Ah, whoops. Yeah, that's the thing that makes this fight hard for most ships. I did just kind of mess up there, unfortunately, but the thing that makes this fight so complicated is that all of the blades stick around, so that will, over time, make the combat field much more complicated to survive through. So, you saw there, fighting with the Chimera, it's not nearly as convenient as using the Ur-Twig. But we're now at the final fight. I am going to do a safety save here, because whereas pretty much nothing can go horrendously wrong on the previous battle, here it can. So the Dinyari explains how the fight works. Essentially, I need to destroy all of the red sphere things. And I've got a powerful ship, but you're generally expected, I think, to find that it's better to use a fast ship here. Unfortunately, fast ships don't kill the enemy shield generators very quickly. So I'm going to instead try to brute force my way through by blasting these green globs that try to push you away as they come close. Unfortunately, this particular life hasn't gone great. I've gotten some damage on a few of the shield generators, and they don't really show you how much damage they've taken, but they have taken damage. The most annoying part of the green globs is that they become invincible for a little bit after they do their push you away business. So makes it harder than it quote-unquote should be to take them out. Unfortunately, this life didn't go so great, but that's why I have so many avatars. If you get a life that really works out well, you'll typically just obliterate the entire ship during that one life. Okay, got 2 of the generators. It's not terrible. Still have 6 more avatars, one of which is not at full health left. Destroying the green globs is made more difficult by the fact that I can't aim in any direction. I can only aim in one of 16 directions, as, you know, is typically the case in this game. Okay. Still have plenty more. I'm not worried yet, but we are certainly out of the realm of what I would call a great fight against the Sumatra. One nice thing about the Avatar is that my orbiting satellites will eventually take out the globs and the fireballs that are in my immediate vicinity. Okay, have to focus a little bit here. Okay, another one down. 4 to go. That fireball's gonna kill me. The fireballs do damage, the green globs push you away. As far as the speedrunner is concerned, the green globs are usually the bigger problem. Okay, this is actually a decent angle that's gonna get me in. Okay. Okay, another one down. 3 more. Once all of the shield generators are destroyed, the Sumatra stops shooting, and at that point I'll need to switch to the flagship, which will carry the bomb in for the final shot. At this point I only have 2 avatars left, one of which is already somewhat damaged, so I may wind up needing to be a little more careful about the fireballs. Okay, that's all of them. All right. So now I just need to take out the fireballs so that they don't destroy the flagship. Okay, where are they? They should still exist somewhere here, there. Okay, so now I get this ship out of the way. Sumatra's no longer attacking. And it looks like I'm going to be just under the estimate, just by a little bit here. So here we go. Time ends whenever I fly into this gate. That is time. And I need to manually hit time because apparently Okay. I'm not sure why live split isn't stopping, but I'm just going to hit pause, I guess. There we go. So, there we go. That is Star Control 2, the Ur-Quan Masters. Done reasonably quickly. My personal best is like 15-ish minutes faster than this. Some things went terribly, horribly wrong. And there are some aspects of the game where that can just happen if you're trying to push it hard with the speed run. In a casual run, you're supposed to actually fight back against the ships that you're encountering, and we prefer not to because it takes so much extra time. The fact that I wound up having to do that really threw off a lot of my plans. But we still got there. Still a valid run. I did not need to load any of my backup saves from a previous run. I did have to reload a couple times, but they were from the safety saves I made during the run, so it's all okay. Once again, this game is has a cult following, and there's some developers that have, first of all, made this community build of the game. So if you just look up the Ur-Quan Masters, version 0.8.0 is exactly the version I was playing here. There's also a lot of mods out there that introduce HD graphics, that add some basic mouse controls for like the star map and that sort of thing. So definitely check it out if you were at all intrigued by the peculiar mixture of things here. Another thing you did not really get to see from the game over the course of the speedrun was a lot of dialogue. There is so much dialogue with all sorts of quirky aliens, and that's a large part of the draw of the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't really show up in the speedrun, but a whole lot of interesting asteroid/space war-esque arcade combat shows up near the end of the run. All sorts of interesting optimization choices near the beginning of the run. I enjoy it. So thanks for watching. And coming up next on Retrothon is, as I understand it, the Mario block, starting with the absolute AAA title, blockbuster, very well-known title that everyone loves, Hotel Mario. Enjoy that. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys later.